Yo guys, what's up? Axian back with another video today, and today we doing a good old tier list. No face cam, just commentary. Let me break down this tier list for people who are new, because I always have new people coming to these tier list video. Top 3 is where I put the top 3 best characters in the game, which I think is the top 3 best characters in the game. You know, it is my opinion after all. S plus tier, S tier, S minus tier, A plus tier, A, and B plus. Now, I bet you're wondering, why do I have so many tiers? I think that all of these characters are very close together. I don't think certain characters are that far apart from each other. I think the worst character in this game is, I would say, kind of not that far off from the best character in the game, right? You know, you still can defeat the Spiral Abyss with the worst character in the game, just like you can defeat the Spiral Abyss with the best character in the game. Pretty much what I'm saying. Speaking of the worst character in the game, I'm starting off with Amber and Lisa, right? Amber, we all know why she's the worst character in the game. I don't think I really need to explain this. Lisa, I think she's only good in physical comps, and you know, physical DPS are kind of niche. The only physical DPS that are really mainstream or quote-unquote meta is Razor, Eula, and Keqing. You know, Xinyan, a lot of people don't use her as a DPS, but either way, Albedo, I would put him S minus tier, right? I think by himself he's S minus tier. If you have a Zhongli, I think he's S tier, obviously, or even higher, depending on how you build him. The Traveler, I'm usually talking about the Electro Traveler with him. For the Animal Traveler and the Geo Traveler, right, I have the Animal Traveler here, the Geo Traveler here. If you have Zhongli with the Geo Traveler, I think he's also a plus tier. You know, the reason he's so good as Animal is because, you know, the Viridescent set, you know, kind of helps out a lot with animal characters. But Electro Traveler, S minus tier. I think he's on par with Albedo. He's on par with Albedo without Zhongli. Obviously with Albedo with Zhongli, he's better than the Traveler, Electro Traveler. But you know, the reason I don't rank the Electro Traveler higher is because of the energy he takes for his ult, which is one of the best things he has in his kit. And sometimes you don't reach it because, you know, you're usually getting those energy particles for someone else, someone like your DPS. Right, next up I have Zarya, S minus tier. I think she's a great sub DPS or burst support. I think she has great damage. You know, her ability to have constant cryo with her, you know, plunge spear, I think is great for teams like Ball, teams like, you know, someone like a Eula who needs a battery. But speaking of a battery, I think Diona is better than Rosaria. She literally is one of in my opinion, one of the best supports in the game. She literally has everything that you need for a support. She has heals, she has shield, she has, you know, constant cryo, which is one of the best interactions in the game because you can cause melt, you can cause freeze. Pretty much, I think Diona is perfect in the game for as a support. You can't go wrong with the Diona, even at C0. Ayaka, you guys know where I put her last time, but I'm actually convincing on putting her S plus tier. From what I've seen, I think she's kind of S plus tier from, you know, just her ult alone. But for right now, I'm gonna put her S tier. I'm gonna, you know, maybe in the end of the video I'll figure out if I should have her S plus tier. Bennett, first top 3. I believe Bennett is a top 3 character in the game. I'm not saying which position he is, if Bennett's the best character in the game or, you know, the 3rd best character in the game. You know, either way, Bennett I think is at least in the top 3. He busts DPS or even busts himself. He has the best, he's the best element in the game. Pyro, you know, he has heals, you know, busts, pretty much has everything, right? And he's a sword user, so, you know, really easy to get a weapon for him. Barbara, you know, everyone has her C6 at this point. You know, everyone has her high consolation, right? Pretty much everyone has a Barbara. I think if you have her C6, I think she goes S minus tier. The reason why is because she can revive characters. No other healer can do that unless you have her C6, like someone like Chi-Chi. But I doubt people have a C6 Chi-Chi unless you're a whale, right? So I put Barbara, you know, A plus tier. With the heals, with the revive mechanic, I would put her S minus tier. But for right now, A plus tier. Beto, S minus tier. Great burst DPS. Right, I think Beto is very great, even though she's Electro, which I consider is the worst element in the game. If you have Zhongli, if you don't have a Zhongli, obviously Geo is the worst element because, you know, Geo interaction is not that good without Zhongli. Except for if you have Albedo, he does great. He does more than just Geo reactions. He has Elemental Mastery, but I think Albedo even shines more with the Zhongli help. Diluc, I have him S tier. A lot of people say Diluc falls off, but I believe Diluc deserves to be here. He's the best element in the game, and I think Diluc is kind of more like Childe. He's more of an enabler, in my opinion, than a DPS, right? I think he works great with Xingqiu. I think he's enabler, a lot of people kind of misconstrued that, but I think Diluc kind of is more like Child than is someone like Eula, right? In my opinion, Fischl has a turret. If she was like literally a cryo turret, I think she'd be way better. But having Electro and Electro interactions are not the best in the game. But either way, she has a turret. She can does off the field. If you ever see 6, she's so good. Ganyu, I would consider top 3. I think she is the best DPS in the game. Convincingly, she can even be a really good support. I think she does everything in this game perfect as a DPS. Even as a support, she is great. She's very good. But DPS all the way. Hu Tao, I believe S+ tier. Now, I know what you're saying. Hu Tao is only good at C1. Now, I can admit there is flaws with her stamina if she's C0, but I think if you're a really good player, you can play around that, right? You can find ways to get more, avoid the stamina cost, right? One thing she's great at is she gives everyone crit rate, so that's what I heard, right? I only recently found this out, but she gives crit rate to your team, so I think Hu Tao provides a support even without being a support. She's probably the best element in the game, in my opinion, even though you have to work around her energy unless you ever see one. I think you can find a way to make Hu Tao a really good DPS, in my opinion. Jean, S tier, with the animal buffs, she's really great. Great battery for characters like Xiao or Venti. For characters like that, I think Jean's great, and pretty much animal, can cleanse yourself and stuff like that. Kaya, I also put him at S- tier. I think Kaya's great. You just gotta build him right. He's great for burst teams, so I think Kaya is right here. It's kind of hard to get constellations with him since, getting constellations with, the standard characters like Lisa and Kaya are very hard. So I put Kaya right here. S- tier, I think, is where he belongs. I also put Keqing at an S- tier. I think Keqing is very, kind of a weird character to talk about because you either build her electro DPS or physical DPS, and I believe physical DPS is the better option because, electro is not the best element in the game. But that's all I have to say for Keqing because I'm not a Keqing player for myself. This is all the information I have about Keqing. Klee, S tier. I think she's great. Kind of clunky. I think she does require a lot of skill to play her, but you can get a lot out of her. So I believe Klee deserves to be at this S tier. Mona, I'm promoting her up to S tier. I used to have her S-, but buffing and stuff, water element interactions, is just getting better with, electro characters, more electro characters coming out. So I put her S tier, great buffer. I don't think she's on par with a Bennett, in my opinion, and a later buff character, we're going to be talking about later. Ningguang, I put her S- tier as well. Good DPS, but, not that good at interactions because she is Geo. So, she can't get any higher than this, in my opinion, even though she has good damage, very good damage for not having interactions. I think she belongs here. My first A tier character, Noelle. I think the higher constellation, the better she is. C6 is when she's really good, but pretty much everyone's really good at C6, in my opinion. So, saying that's not really a compliment, right? So, Noelle is kind of only a healer and, not that great at C0. So, in my opinion, she belongs at A tier, in my opinion. Chi-Chi, I think she belongs with Barbara. Just Chi-Chi kind of has energy problems. Not being able to be a battery for cryo characters, I think kind of sucks. So Chi-Chi kind of belongs here. I think she does have the best heals in the game because of her seals, but obviously not the best healer in the game. Razor, I think, is on the same tier as Keqing, Beidou, and all the rest of these characters. I think Beidou, Keqing, and Razor, in my opinion, are kind of all on the same level. Razor and Beidou kind of go up with constellations because they have really good constellations. I can't say that with Keqing because how often do you guys have a high constellation Keqing? So, I can only really say that with Beidou and Razor. Now, talking about buffers, I believe Sucrose is better than Mona. I think she can hoard people. She can give good elemental damage depending on who I have as your supports, or sometimes it just gives the element reaction of the enemies, right? Mona can immobilize characters, but those are only small mobs, so that's why I can have Sucrose ahead of her. And plus the Viridescent set, Sucrose being an animal character with all these animal buffs, I think she belongs here and she can be a good battery. and there's not that many good hydro characters for batteries. Speaking of hydro DPS characters, we have Child. I believe he's on par with the rest of the people on S tier. He's kind of an enabler, not as DPS, as he was beforehand, because a lot of people call him as DPS. But, speaking of Child, let me find the one and only Xingling, right? I think Xingling and Child are pretty much like the perfect duo. I think you're not getting Child's full potential without Xingling, and I don't think you're getting Xingling's full potential without Child. So I think they're kind of equal, and they kind of need each other to be echelon, because if you have them both together, I think they're S plus tier, but Xingling really depends on very good supports, for example like Child and like Bennett and like Xingqiu and other like really good supports for Xingling to really get the maximum. Someone like Hu Tao, you can not really need that in my opinion, and someone like Sucrose, really easy to put on any team, and she's really good. Venti, S plus tier. I would argue he's on top 3, but with all these samurais in the Spiral Abyss, it's kind of hard to argue with Venti being top 3. But if eventually you take out these samurais and Venti is able to move all these characters, I think Venti belongs on top 3 and replacing Ganyu, because I believe Zhongli is also on the top 3. I can confidently say I believe Zhongli is the best character in the game, in my opinion. Of course, this is always my opinion, right? I think Zhongli makes the Geo class really good, makes Albedo better than he is, makes the Geo Traveler better than he is. Ningguang, I don't really know much about that interaction, but I don't think he makes her that better. So I think Zhongli is the best character in the game, and I think he deserves his top 3 spot. Zhao, a lot of people hate that I think Zhao is S plus tier, right? With the animal buffs, jumping in the air, avoiding most damage, able to attack a lot of enemies, because I know Zhao doesn't have that snapshot damage, but his area of damage that he can do to a bunch of people, and he has a bunch of hits in just jumping mode, his mass form. I think he's very good with that, right? The amount of enemies he can hit is kind of what his thing is, right? He doesn't have the snapshot damage that Hu Tao and Yulu do, but he's kind of built different, right? If you have a bunch of enemies, he's gonna dominate that more than a Hu Tao and Eula, in my opinion. Xingqiu, obvious S plus tier. I don't really need to explain this. He has heals, can gives constant hydro, application. Just great in general. C6. I have him C6. I think he even gets way better when he's at C6. Xinyan, underwhelming. I bowed her. I gave her some of the best artifacts, and I find her very underwhelming in my opinion. Speaking of the artifacts I gave her Eula's artifacts, and I believe Eula is S plus tier. Even though she's physical damage, she is one of the best units in the game. I know people say physical damage is not the best, but the reason physical damage works for Eula is she is built different, right? She has her attack is way higher when doing physical attacks. She is kind of like a snapshot character, so that's kind of her quirky thing, right? If you're not getting those crit damage rates, her ult is not that good. But either way, once you hit those crit damage rates, numbers, you're godly, right? Eula is like one of the fastest person to clear Spiral Abyss with, in my opinion. She can just knock down opponents with one hit, and I think that's where Eula is kind of valuable. And plus, she's kind of very easy to build, because you can just use Elisa, just get a cryo applicant like a Rosaria to be your battery, and just get like a Bennett or some other power character. Just do something like that, and your Eula is set. Kazuya, y'all know where I think he belongs. S plus tier. I don't think he's in the top 3, even though he's really good. I think he belongs in the S plus tier. I'm really high on Kazuya, as I think other people are high on Kazuya. But Kazuya, really good unit in the game. Don't really need to explain. Everyone knows how good Kazuya is. I don't really have a lot of experience with her, but I think she's A plus tier. I don't really know much about her, but except that the higher constellation she gets, the more damage she's able to dish out. But I think right there in the A plus tier is kind of where she belongs as a DPS. Now Chongyun, I think he is an A plus tier character. I think the higher constellation he gets, he becomes up with here with them. But Chongyun right now is an A plus tier, not that far off from Akaya or Rosaria. But I think as a DPS he belongs here, and I think as a support he belongs A tier, right? Yoimiya, I didn't make a tier list for her, so getting controversial. I think she is S minus tier. This is controversial, but I think Yoimiya is kind of missing out on a couple of things, right? I think she is very much like Child, right? I think she is like pretty much the power version of Child, but I think we kind of already have the pyro version in Child with Diluc, because you know you can just have constant uptime on his pyro attacks. Yoimiya kind of has her cooldown for her pyro attacks, while Diluc, if you build him right, he can just always have pyro attacks, and you just have to have a water support like Xingqiu to this, and do that vaporize. Yoimiya, she does require a really good team like someone like Xinglang, so I think Yoimiya kind of is in the S- tier. I am really high in Yoimiya. I would personally want to put her in S tier, but I think she just doesn't have the kit to do it, and I think Diluc is just slightly better, not that much better, but just slightly better at what he does, better than Yoimiya. Even though Yoimiya does do way more damage than someone like Diluc, I think Diluc is the better enabler than Yoimiya in my opinion, and I value enabling more than I value DPS in my opinion. Right, the damage she can do, right? I saw you. I think she is an A+ tier character, right? Just because of the Viridescent set, can lower like elemental res and stuff like that. Just that alone, she is A+ tier. I think she is a very fun character from what I've seen in gameplay. I did not summon the Yoimiya banner, so I don't have personal experience with Yoimiya and Sayu, so I'm just going off what I've seen and what I've been told. So my opinion can be slightly altered from what I've seen on gameplay, right? Bao, let's start off with Sara, right? I think she is very interesting. She is a very hard unit to build because her kit is kind of like slow, like more of like a sub DPS character. I am slightly leaning to A+ here because her buffing is kind of weird. I think in my opinion Sara really needs to be C2 to be a really good buffer, because you can hit a lot more characters with her ult. But other than that, the higher constellation, I think the better Sara is, and she can arguably be S- tier. Higher constellation, but for right now, I put her at A+ tier. It's kind of hard to say when she's out this early, and I have her at level 60, but it's just kind of hard to build her because of how unique her kit is, right? But someone I do know how to build is Ball. Now, Ball is someone who is quite controversial, right? People want her to get buffed. Some people say she doesn't really need a buff. Some people say she has the best banner to date, right? She has a very good banner because of someone like Sara, someone like Sucrose being on that banner. And I forgot who the third unit was. It was probably someone else really good. I think it was Xinglang, maybe? I'm not too sure, but Sara just being a buffer herself was pretty good. And plus she was a new character, and I honestly like her design. But Ball, I think it belongs in, let's do Alloy first. Alloy, A+ tier. I haven't had enough hands-on experience or gameplay with her, but I think she's right there. The reason that kind of carries her is she has the ice clean bombs, so you do need like an animal support to really make those bombs even more useful, and she has the damage of a 5-star support, so I think A+ tier is there. But now that I've been avoiding it for so long, let me talk about Bao, right? I have Bao myself. I use a Eula, Bao, Rosaria, and Bennett comp, right? That's a very good team. You can obviously tell from, where I rank these characters, that's a very high ranked team, right? You might say I should use Diona, but, I don't really need a healer because I have Bennett, right? So, Ball, let me compare her to someone. Child, I think her ult, if you have enough energy recharge, which you should, because building her with a lot of energy recharge is like very good for Ball. So I think you need to have a lot of energy recharge, so you should always have her ult uptime really easily, and I think her cooldown is about 10 seconds, somewhere around 10 seconds, right? So I think building her like that is pretty easily, so you'll always kind of have that ult ready, and I think every time I have that ult ready, I can switch to a DPS like someone like Eula, do her ult, and I already have a Ball's ult ready, so I think she's more of like a sub DPS, burst DPS kind of character, right? So, and she has the official E, which I believe is better than official's E in my opinion, and I think she belongs in S+ tier. That's kind of hard for people to, hear, but I think Ball is at the level of everyone at S+ tier. I think is on this level, right? I think she's at the lower end of S+ tier. Maybe you can say middle area with S+ tier, maybe someone like a Sucrose level. But I think Ball is really good. I'm really high in Ball. If she gets buffed, more power to me. I guess I just have a better Ball now. But I think Ball, I have great numbers where I'd be getting 10k, normal attacks with Ball, and I feel really confident saying Ball belongs in the S plus tier, and I'm really high in Ball. I'm not really one of those Ball haters who think Ball needs to be buffed. I'd be happy if Ball gets buffed because, I have her, but, I don't really think she needs it. I kind of like how Ball is at her position right now. S plus tier, Venti is obviously a better Archon than Ball, and Zhongli is, in my opinion, the best character in the game. But, Ball deserves her Archon spot. Maybe if they buff Electro, she would be way better because her interactions in the game would be, higher DPS. Overload would be better. Electro Charge would be better. But, that's more of like an Electro issue. But by herself, her kit is amazing. Can buff her, teammates. I think there is literally nothing wrong with Ball's kit other than that she's Electro. So I think Ball is an S plus tier character. But that is my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And peace out.